life sentence without the possibility of parole. Was not accused of shooting anybody, wasn't accused of having a gun, only of selling drugs and being successful in selling drugs. I did get quite a bit of money. I had got up to my last 2 years that I sold drugs, I made $1 million a day. Some days I made up to $3 million. When I went to jail and went to trial, what I discovered is that my informant was from Dege. He was part of the contract, the Ivy contract. What we found out is that the Reagan and the Bush administration, the CIA, knew that these guys were selling drugs, but they needed the money to support a war. So by them needing the money to support a war, then it was okay for drugs to be sold inside of our community. Since I've been out, I've been doing a documentary to just try to size up all this craziness that went on in my life. I started selling drugs at 19 years old. I went to prison at 28. I've been out now 3 years. So what I've been doing is just going around trying to get all the details, as much information as I can, because one of the things that I found out about myself is that I didn't have much knowledge about what I was doing. I didn't know that the contract was backed by the CIA and that the contract was President Reagan's thing. I knew absolutely nothing about that. The only thing I knew was that the guy was getting me drugs and I was able to make some money, to take care of myself and take care of my family. Because at the time I was unemployed, didn't know where I was going to get a job. So since I've been out, I've been doing my research. I had the privilege about 8 months ago, they had a drug reform downtown at the Coutee. So while I was down there, I was watching one of the panels, and this guy was just happened to write the minimum mandatory sentencing laws for the feds for speaking. So when I heard him speak, because I had so many friends, including myself, that was affected by minimum mandatory sentencing. So I wanted to speak to him. So I walked up to him and I asked him, I said, I heard you speaking, I would like to speak to you, and I would like to speak to you on camera. Would you consent to an interview? So he did. And while we were sitting there talking, the guy told me that they passed a law within 1 week. 1 week they passed a law that would affect millions and millions of black and brown men's lives for a life sentence. 20 years, for 30 years. I knew one guy was 19 years old, he got 35 years in prison and had never shot nobody, had never robbed anybody, had never raped anybody. And they gave this kid 35 years, in fact, he just got out about 6 months ago. And what's even worse than that is because once they give you this felony, see, for crack cocaine, for a small amount of crack cocaine, for about the size of a marble, they'll give you a felony conviction. Once you receive a felony conviction, you lose your rights. You go back into basically being a slave. Right now, I can't vote. I don't really have a voice.
That we do not allow the only voice at the table to be business owners looking at restrictive permitting so they can create a monopoly. I love what Tiffany said earlier, the cannabis business section in San Francisco when we were working on the regulations. I fought against caps, I fought against limits, and I have this to say, if the cannabis business isn't needed, it will go out of business. And if you've been a good player and you've established true community benefit, like Dege says, just give a fair hearing. That's how every cannabis community gets served, and we don't end up with Walmart, Kmart, and Costco. So I hope you guys join in that fight here in Los Angeles. Thank you.
You know, that becomes a very, very difficult question because so much of it has to do, it's a top-down environment, and a lot of it has to do with education. So in every large community, and a lot of the smaller ones, there should be a community-based policing unit that it's probably much more open than like the narcotics unit. so to speak. And what everyone needs to clearly understand is, and I'm tired of hearing this from law enforcement, and I heard this from the federal attorney generals as well. I was at a speech that he did at the Sacramento Press Club. Well, I'm just enforcing the law. Well, I'm just doing my job. And it's like, well, no, you're not doing your job because you don't understand the impact. So what we have to do then, again, which becomes difficult, is becoming politically active. And although you don't have a vote, right, you have a voice still, and you need to get with those groups that listen. And so there's a lot of issues within our own communities, and I think part of the problem is all of us want to defend our own spot. And so we have to reach out to everybody here. You know, the underrepresented poor section of the disabled veterans and the folks on SSI have a voice. We need to create a group of stakeholders and then get a meeting with law enforcement. But we have to work on changing the laws, because once the laws change, then you can move forward. So it's like, okay, so let's do that. Let's change the law. Let's legalize cannabis to start in California. Let's set aside our differences and craft something that will protect medical access. And so I think that's really important. We have to get cannabis legalized. You know, I'll just beat this horse to death. Political activism, and in a lot of aspects, I'm a firm believer in Martin Luther King and civil disobedience. And sometimes you have to stand up to the bully on the block, like you did. I admire anyone, and I think, you know, we just have to continue to push it forward with sound scientific evidence, putting people up in front of our politicians and holding them accountable by getting them out of office. It's going to be the way to do it. That's how we're going to change this.
It's going to take time. Change is going to be time to get rid of these politicians, especially in LA. And again, I just remind people, you know, Patient Advocacy Network, an educational 501c3. We teach stakeholderism. We teach people what that's about. Just to throw something out, there's a gentleman here named Tim, and he threw out an interesting wrinkle in Eagle Rock when he let all the patients in Eagle Rock know, or any of the patients in LA, if you're a member of a collective in Eagle Rock, you're a stakeholder in Eagle Rock, and you go vote in Eagle Rock. And so yeah, we remind people about this whole idea of stakeholderism and you know, advocating for your rights and effectively engaging the democratic process.
To call them, and they're mostly right-wing stations. You can get, you know, a minute at a time. A minute at a time would cost you literally $10,000. But if you take like a half hour out of your day, pick up the phone, you wait for yourself to get put on there, and then say something that's positive for our side. You know, we need a voice. So be a part of the voice. Don't be scared. Write books, write blogs, and once you realize that you have a voice, it's so much more interesting in your life. You feel so much more powerful. And then you can look the other person in the eyes and tell them, you know, you may be right, but here's my point.